alive. Are you sure you want to build here, Gary? Well, that's true. We'll be high off the ground, but what about the super mutants? You know how those big, dumb uglies like to plink away at our gourds from a half-mile off? No, Gary, that's not a euphemism. Turrets. Bless them for trying, Gary, but you know how I feel about turrets. What's the deal with corn anyway? I mean, if you can tell me, I'm all ears. Get it? Hey, you getting froggy over there? Absolutely no turrets. Alright, let's look at what we need and get to building. Now, we've chosen this spot in the mire just southeast of Harper's Ferry between Big B's Rest Stop and Valley Galleria on Old Highway 65. This tree is huge, so we'll go over some of the tools we need and then we'll get started. First and foremost, you'll need the catwalk. Sadly, it is an atomic shop item, but it is essential for getting a camp off the ground and leaving foundations behind. We'll use the flamethrower trap to double up the shorter walls throughout our build. This is a reward for completing the Coming to Fruition quest in the Free State's main quest line. We'll also need the Advanced Power Connectors plan, which includes the conduits for building our rope bridge and stairwell, and pressure plate for various merging. The plan can be bought from any of the vendors listed here. Thank you, Fallout Wiki. Oh, and don't forget about our camp device. You thought you just plopped it down all higgledy-piggledy, never to look at it again? Oh no, it's a tool we'll be using, and I'll show you how to unlock its true mystical properties in just a few minutes. First thing we'll do is place our camp device. We'll want to place it kind of high up, so we'll need to get it up into that tree. We'll run around the back here where we can hop up. You can see the borders of your build on the ground, but where you place the camp device also determines how far up or down you can build, so we'll need some height. We'll just kind of place it up in this trunk here. Or we'll just hop around forever. Now you can place it on the trunk. Sometimes you'll have to twist it a little bit. And there we go. Now we'll just grab this and put it aside for a minute. Now we'll switch our camera view and line up how we're going to build up into the tree. I am going to speed up some of this because my decision making is both fiddly and diddly, and you don't really need to see all that. What we're doing here is finding a placement for our initial foundation. Then we'll build some ladders up into the tree, then build upper floors off those ladders to check placement and how much we'll have to move our initial foundation. It's a long and grueling process sometimes. Good news is it's the worst part. I can tell right away this is all wrong, so I'm going to nudge this foundation over and try again. Not really a great start. Can't even get the first upper floor in. So we'll just backtrack a little bit and start again. When we were up there, I noticed we were still a little too far to the right, so we'll just nudge the foundation left a little bit. I don't need this other foundation, so we'll just get rid of this. Kind of eyeball things as we go up. And I think we might be a little too far down. And a little too far forward. So back we go again. Lift this foundation all the way it can go, and this will give us the elevation we need for those upper floors to clear those branches. Now that we're up in the tree, I like to use my powers of imagination to kind of picture the space. And back down we go. This time we're building with catwalks. Catwalks are great because you can attach stairs to them, then delete the catwalk, leaving a floating staircase. Then you can attach upper floors to those stairs. But I cannot stress this enough. Make sure you have a recovery plan because everything you build after a catwalk you won't be able to delete until you make the entire structure viable again. The easiest way is to build an upper floor where you originally had the catwalk. Always leave a way open to build back. Well, now we got the height we need, but oh man, I hate that space between the tree and the floor. We're just gonna check out the space with some walls to see what we can and can't do, then we'll be back on our way down. This is what I meant about the catwalks. We'll have to delete those catwalks and replace them with upper floors in order to delete this structure. After we get back down, I'll nudge that initial foundation forward just a bit, then we will rebuild exactly the way we did before. Just so you wouldn't have to watch it all again, after nudging that initial foundation forward, I rebuilt the entire structure, but this time I added barn walls, just as a kind of bookmark for where the floors go. Now we want to double up some of these walls and add another room using some floating roofs as a floor. In order to do all that, we'll need to build a mess of scaffolding, which will also come in useful later when we want to build our rope bridge. Use whatever method you want to get over there, just make sure not to let the floors of your scaffolding connect with the floors of your treehouse. It's best to stay one story down. We build all of our walls as doorways initially so we can double them up. It doesn't take up much camp budget and some of the different combinations of walls look pretty cool together. Who's wallpapering in the apocalypse? No, not us, Gary. We have these walls up already, so we'll place walls facing the opposite direction from one story below. We can't place walls on a gantry, so we'll just get rid of that and replace it with some upper floors. And up we go again. We're going to build up to the tree limb above us, then delete everything below. Doorways are nice because you can build them upwards, then delete the walls beneath them with no troubles. I personally like the barn walls for one reason only. They're thinner than other walls and less likely to clip. There's no way I'd leave them in a final build though. Now, I did connect a half floor to my treehouse floor here, but that's because I haven't built with the catwalk yet, and I need to double up these walls. I'm going to delete all of these floors after I'm done building the walls. Am I making any sense? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Anyway, we'll rebuild all the floors after I replace the catwalk later. Now we're going to throw in a couple of roofs, which will actually be the floor for this room. I ran into a problem here. That branch has collision, so we can't place a full wall. It looks like we got lucky though, and we can place two short walls where the branch runs between them. We want to double them up though, so we'll need the flamethrower. Just plop them down and then give them a little steppy stool so we can hit both walls at once. Now with those walls out of the way, we can put up our secondary set. Just make sure they're facing the opposite way though. We'll need to change these short walls to either the contemporary wall set, which you can buy in the atomic shop, or the brick wall set, which you can buy from a robot vendor without spending real life ducats. These are the two wall sets which I know of that have their snapping points disabled once they're destroyed, which just means we'll be able to remove the floors out from under them with no problems. The brick walls take longer to burn through though. It's a good idea every once in a while to take a look around at your camp and see if there's any changes you want to make. Like this wall over here, then I'm going to change it to two short walls. Again. Just leave these walls destroyed for now. We'll fix them later. We have this entire other side of the tree to build in, so let's start imagining the space. I'm thinking of a small garden with a bedroom connecting to it. And I like to use this floor design to make sure all the patterns are aligned with each other. Up here we'll build the bedroom floors, walls, and small planter boxes outside where the windows will be. We'll double up the walls, then we'll delete all the floors throughout the build in a minute. But we'll leave the walls up as bookmarks. Here we are back at that room with those half walls we destroyed with the flamethrower. We want to dismantle all the walls we don't need, but we run into a problem. We can't delete these walls until we change the roofs into slanted ones in order to break the connection point. Easy enough. Now we just change them back to flat ones. Remember, these roofs will be the floor to this room. If you hate the texture of the roof, don't worry, we can cover them with rugs and clutter. Now we're going to delete all the floors and rebuild using the catwalk and floating stair trick. For brevity's sake, I already deleted all the floors on the other side of our treehouse. Now we'll place down a couple long catwalks, then place down our stairway and floors for the first room. I chose this floor plan because I don't like boxy shapes in my builds, so 3 and 2 square boys will do just fine. Be careful placing the floors. They love to jump around, and you won't be able to move them again after this. We've run into a slight problem with extending out to the garden area with our catwalks, so we'll have to come at it from another angle. That's alright. We'll just build another scaffold and come at it from the front. The garden is a half foundation over from the main structure, so we'll extend a half catwalk from our initial foundation, place another, and build up from there. Three stories up and 2 full catwalks out will get us where we need to be. Then we'll plop down our stairs, get rid of those catwalks, and now we can extend our floors in both directions. We'll eventually change these 3 foundations in the garden area over to the farmable dirt tiles. That plan is available from Samuel and Foundation for 500 bullion. You can also get them cheaper from Minerva if she has them in stock. As for our bedroom, we'll lay down these 3 floors, then 3 half floors for some planter boxes. As you can see, our treehouse is starting to take shape, but we're not quite there yet. Now we'll go through and delete more of the walls we don't want. We'll have to switch this roof back to a slanted one to break the connection to this wall, and then back to a flat roof. Then I realized I made another mistake. Mistakes happen. I just wish they didn't happen so often when I'm recording my first tutorial. Anyway, I want these walls to go all the way around this tree to give the illusion of more support. So I'm going to line it up with double walls and then hit it with a flamethrower. Then we'll have to delete these floors again and redo the catwalk trick. No problem. We know how to do it. That being said, it's important to take a break from building sometimes. Things can get frustrating after a while and our brains turn into an inconsolable pile of tears and whatever the opposite of glitter is. So stop your sourpussing, get up and have a stretch. Maybe have a taco. Hey Gary, I'm gonna check out the neighborhood. Watch the house for me. Don't give me that look, I'll be back soon. Fine, yes, I'll bring you back a Mr. Fuzzy doll. Nerd. all right, that's silly. Knock it off. Anyway, here's your doll, Gary. Are you happy now? Ridiculous. So we're going to wrap part of that tree trunk with walls to make the build a little more believable. It's best to do things right the first time, but failing that, we'll do it right eventually. It'll be a little work, but nothing we haven't already covered. I already went ahead and deleted all the floors, so let's jump forward to where we've already placed our stairways up to the main entrance and get that tree wrapped. So we'll get a floor down in front of the main entrance. Now we go in from the left and a story below. Add a full wall and 2 half walls on top of it. Same thing here, a full wall and 2 half walls. Same with this last section. Now we'll have to change them over to a wall set, which will allow us to remove their structural support once they're destroyed. And we get our flame bore RD out and get to burning. Try to point it toward the corner so you can get both sides at once. Whoops, looks like I missed one. Now we can get rid of all those walls below and the floors from our main structure. Again. Now we'll delete our way back to our initial foundation, pull those stairs back, then rebuild our way up using the catwalk trick. That's the last time we'll have to do this. Or swear. Again, be careful placing floors after a catwalk. The build system makes things a bit fiddly. Most of our main structural work is done now, so it's time for the rope bridge and conduit stairs. For our rope bridge, we'll have to go in from a story below. This is where we employ our camp's magical nature of being able to float objects in midair. We'll construct a more solid surface off the gantry to build from so we can be right underneath the action, so to speak. Then we'll grab our camp device and set it on top of 4 stash boxes. This will give us the perfect height to float our conduits, which will make up most of our rope bridge. Placement could take a minute, or our conduits will want the device itself near one of the corners of the doorway. Some of the more meticulous stuff like this is better done in first person rather than the free cam building mode, as I am most egregiously demonstrating. We're building from this doorway to that one, so kind of take a look and imagine how you want to proceed. I'm going for a pretty straightforward bridge, but you can get a little crazy with the shape if you have the patience for it. Now head to the Power Connectors tab of the Build menu and find the medium-length pipe conduits. That's what we'll be making the main part of our bridge from. We'll want to set the conduit right on top of the camp device just like it were any other camp object, but positioning could take a minute if you're not used to it, or you've had too much coffee, or, you know what, we'll fast forward until we get it. There we go. Good gravy. Floating objects won't take so long once you get the hang of it, but for sanity's sake, we'll just skip along to the next part. Sometimes you'll get the need support error. You can either try giving it emotional support, which will definitely not work, or just rotate your stash boxes so they're aligned underneath the object you're trying to float. And find the sweet spot. You'll want to gap these conduits enough that you won't fall between them, but far enough apart that you don't completely wreck your build budget. You'll repeat this process for every link in the bridge. Place a conduit, nudge your pile of stash boxes, align your camp device, place a conduit, etc. until your bridge is done. If you're having trouble with the conduit snapping around all over the place, you can turn the snapping off in the lower left side of the menu. Once in a while, an object won't place when you know it should. Sometimes exiting out of the build menu and going back in will clear up any of that trouble. So here we have our walkway mostly finished. Now we can add some planks for added immersion. Oh yeah, and safety. The easiest way to do this is the same way we placed our conduits. Just position your stash boxes, align the camp device between a couple conduits, and place one of the mat rugs on top of it. You can position these neatly, or how I like to do it, which is janky. Just like our walkway, this process will take a while. Just take your time and get things how you like them. I like to leave enough space between rugs for a little pucker factor, but not so much that will fall through. Place a few rugs, step back and look at the overall, then place more if you need. And for the last part of our walkway, we'll add some things to make it appear more structurally sound. I chose the shorter pipe conduits. Just add them along the sides, leaving space here and there if you wish. We can also add some odds and ends like lights and the wired conduit ends that snap to the horizontal conduits. We'll wire it up later so that it will appear suspended from the wires. Now it's time for the last pain in our neck, the conduit staircase. Look at its majesty. So spirally. So starry. So we'll start off by placing a grubby mat using our boards for alignment. Getting these lined up correctly is kind of crucial. Then we'll place down a long pipe conduit on top of the mat. Line it up so that the little nubby thing in the middle of the conduit is just left of the rug. May as well lay out a couple at a time. Plop down a pipe, place a mat, then pick up the conduit, line it up, and lay it on the mat. The order of how you do things next is important. Pick up your stairwell section by the mat. Place it over the other one so the ends of the conduits line up and the conduit underneath is at about the halfway mark on the side of the mat farthest from you and about a quarter of the way on the side closest to you. Then you'll pick up this weird amalgamation by the conduit on the bottom and put it on our magical little camp device. Place it over the center of the device. Now pick it up and place it right back down on the Campy Boy 2000. You'll do this twice for each section. Now place it right back down on the mat where it was before, and move it out of the way. Place down another mat and a long conduit on top of that mat just like before, and repeat the process. Let's just watch for a minute to make sure we've got it. This stairway has 15 sections, so we repeated that process 15 times. Now we'll place it so it leads up to that little room with the roofs for floors. Line the left side of the bottom conduit in the corner, then adjust as you need. Now we're going to add a safety feature so our visitors don't go screaming into the abyss. We'll grab one of the long bendy conduits here and snap them to the sides of our stairway. Oh yeah, be sure to turn snapping back on down here. About every other step should be good enough. It's more of an illusion of safety than actual safety, which is about as safe as you can hope for these days. With our stair and walkways done, now we'll have to build an immersive way into our treehouse. We're going to rearrange our scaffolding to be a story below our entry staircase. Then we'll add some floating tires. I already added a couple, but let's see how it's done. Grab a couple of stash boxes and throw our camp device on top. I started at a height of 3 stash boxes, but we're getting shorter as we go down. Just throw a tire on top of the campy boy and there you go. You might have to turn the tire around a bit before you get a blue outline. Let's watch one more to make sure we have it. We'll go down to 1 stash box. Place our camp device. Then place a tire on top. Sometimes you'll have to make adjustments for spacing. I like to keep my camps accessible to people without mutations, so if you want to check for that, you'll have to take a Rad-X and run the gauntlet yourself to see if it's possible. If you don't have tires, you can use just about anything. Coffins are another favorite of mine. You can't spell coffin without fun, right, Gary? We've gotten rid of all the scaffolding and foundations except our initial foundation. Never delete your initial foundation until after the build is complete, in case you make a mistake and need to rebuild into the treehouse. So now we have our jumpy tire path, but it looks a little weird just suspended in midair like some sort of Michelin Man miracle. So we're going to add something to make it a little more believable. Just go into the power connectors tab and find the power conduit. Place one on each side of the tires. There's a little light on the side of the conduit, and I like to face that outward, but you can place them however you want. Now go up the line, placing 2 power conduits on each tire. Or maybe you're using rugs. Or maybe if you hate yourself, you built a conduit staircase all the way up here, I don't know. I like to keep it simple and easy on the old camp budget though, and as you can see, we're starting to get up there. In case you're wondering where the heck I'm going with all this, but keeping them in suspense. Come on, Gary, you can do better. Anyway, we're gonna hang the pointy down power conduits from the floors up there. Then we'll connect the conduits with wire for the illusion of suspendedness. You'll do this for all the conduits. You may have to move some around a bit to make the wires look right, but you can crisscross some of these in different patterns to make them look believable. Do keep in mind that wires take up a little camp budget too, though. Now our treehouse is almost complete, but our walls are needing some attention. Go on to repair the walls we destroyed earlier with the flamethrower. Then we're going to replace all of these walls with a mishmash of different scrappy wall types. There's a number of different great combinations, though a lot of them are atomic shop items. You can also change your staircases and floors the same way. Just hit R on the keyboard while hovering over a wall, staircase, or floor. I'm not sure what it is on a controller. Then hit T to replace and you'll see all your options. This process will take a while, but it's all up to personal preference. If you're going for scrappy, I like the regular wood wall you start off with, and the new abandoned mine walls. The corrugated sheet metal also looks alright, but again, it's all up to you. Whoa, what's that, Gary? Oh yeah, Gary says the barn walls are never an option. Anyway, I'm pretty sure you get the idea by now. Let's go ahead and skip to the next section. It was bothering me how this room juts out like it does, so we're going to add a little wedge in there. So we extended the scaffold right below, and now we'll add a doorway directly underneath the half walls here. I added 3 doorways, but you really only need just the one underneath the half walls. Now we're at a roof. Make sure it slants up to the left and twist it accordingly. Now place it right between the 2 short walls. Now change it to a slanted roof. Now we'll place an upside down wedge wall. I'm placing the red barn option, but we'll change that in a second. Now do the same for the other side. In order to get rid of these walls underneath, we'll have to burn up this lower half wall. Now we'll repair that half wall and change those wedges to something we like. Then we're all done here. Congratulations. Not only did you make it almost all the way through this video, you've also nearly completed your treehouse. Hope you learned a trick or two. All we have left is a little bit of decorating. Actually, a lot of decorating. And we'll need to add roofs, but we always do that after decor. As you can tell, I'm a big fan of the merging trick, and there's a lot of neat stuff you can slap together. I usually stick to smaller builds so I can get more clutter crammed into a tighter spot, but we could work with this. Decorating is always going to be up to personal preference, whether you like scrappy builds like you scrounge a bunch of bric-a-brac out of the wasteland, or you prefer neat and tidy, just try to keep it consistent. It looks a little weird when you mix up building styles. I don't like how this fireplace sticks out from the wall, so we're going to fix that. We'll need to change this wall to a plain brick wall. It won't work with a doorway or a window. Then we'll hit it with a flamethrower. What we're looking for is a space at the top. Our trick won't work if the gap is connected at the top of the wall. So we'll just keep destroying and repairing until we get the destroyed wall we want. space at the top. Now we'll grab our fireplace and toss it in the gap. I'm using this floor texture to make sure my fireplace is in the exact center. Now we'll repair the wall and change it over to a doorway, which frames the fireplace pretty nicely. Assuming you've already decorated, it's time to add roofs. Sometimes when you try to place an object below a roof, it'll miracle itself up to the top of the ceiling for whatever reason, and that's why we build roofs last. If you want to break up that open space by the slanty bit, just add a fence to the top of a flat roof. Then change the roof back to a slanty one. Easy peasy. There's not a lot left to do, just throwing a couple of roofs on the bedroom area. If you want, you can throw a couple of long conduits down with the wired bits at the end, then connect them to your walkway below for a wiry, suspended motif. Then you'll have to wire the place up with some generators. I'm not using a bunch of power, so 2 solar panels or TED Todd units of power will do just fine for me. As for the last bits, I felt the entrance looked like it was lacking something, so I'm going to add this bridge cap to the start of the tire walkway. I also want people to have the choice on whether or not to visit, so I'm going to leave my vendor down below. Now we'll throw our bomb shelter over here and toss Campy Boy over here, and we're just about done. Oh, right, Gary. Gary loves to look at all the people jumping in, so we'll give him a good seat. Oh, right, can't forget your Mr. Fuzzy. There you go, Gary. As I had mentioned before, our very last step is removing our initial foundation. And with that gone, we are done. A treehouse in the mire, completely suspended with absolutely no foundations.
A little boat about 5 miles across the pond. Then they rowed a little boat about 5 miles across the pond. I packed all my clothes, threw them in, and they rolled me along. When it thunders and lightning and the wind began to blow. When it thunders and lightning and the wind began to blow. There's thousands of people ain't got no place to go. Then I went and stood up on some high old lonesome hill. Then
So what did we learn today, Gary? Yeah, that's right. And we learned a little more about making tutorials, too. Oh, come on, Gary. A couple of weeks ago, I didn't know the first thing about video editing. But yes, I learned quite a bit, and hopefully the next one will be better. We do the best we can with the knowledge we have until we learn a new and better way. Wait a second, where'd your Mr. Fuzzy Dog go? What do you mean the Mothman is the new hotness? Would you cut that out? Gary, I don't want you hanging out with those cultists. They're real creeps.
I see you down there. Don't you play coy. You know where the lotion goes.
What do you mean I'm a creep? There's good creepy and bad creepy, Gary. Don't get me started on that incident in the graveyard, Gary. You know he wasn't using it anymore. What's a dead guy need a watch for? I needed the springs.
For a poor